We appreciate your support and your time, and hopefully it's going to be very worthwhile today. As Talbot mentioned, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about our 2014 membership drive, and a number of you may have seen today an email came out alerting you as to the membership drive is going to be kicking off. We're going to have a call. We have a call for nominations for board of directors candidates open. That's available on our website, and we have a lot of other goings on, so we appreciate your support. Real quickly, I'm just going to take a few minutes and outline the membership drive and what's going on with it. This October, we're kicking off, we kind of nicknamed this our 3R drive. Our drive is in 3 parts, and as Homer Simpson would say, duh. R1, or the first R, is obviously we want to retain our current members. Our second R is re-engage former members, and R3 is revitalize corporate affiliates and chapter activities. Just to briefly go over the retention of current members, our membership databases have been cleaned up, scrubbed, and placed into our new membership management system, and that is all held within our revamped GITA web portal. We've spent a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, tears, and money doing this. We had a tremendously large list, and it had obviously aged. But we've added some other names and information to that, so we're hoping that that work is going to pay off for us. Running forward, automatic reminders will be sent to members prior to expiration, reminding you that your annual membership is up for renewal. And if you do not respond to that, you know, we realize everyone's busy, things get lost in your inbox. We appreciate that, so we'll just gently send you a reminder, some follow-up emails, and even our membership director, Sally Wakefield, may reach out to you and call you, so don't be surprised if you get a call from Sally, and we want to start adding back in the personal touch that we were able to have when we had a full-time professional staff. Our second step is to re-engage former members and allied geospatial professionals. As I say at the top of my slide, we want you back. We realize back in the recession of 2008, 2009, it caused a lot of folks to either change positions, lose interest in GITA, or in some cases, frankly, we dropped the ball. We just lost touch with our membership, and we want to get you back. So those databases of former members, that's been scrubbed and is ready for reconnection. So we'll be reaching out to you via email or phone. There's another pool of folks that we want to reach out to, and some of you may be even on the line today with the webinar, and we call that jump into the GITA pool or quit being a wallflower. And basically that's for professionals who have never been a member of GITA, but you either receive our news hub and emails about GITA webinars, emails on conferences, activities, and what we'd like you to do is jump in the pool with us. In the past, maybe you've attended a conference or an oil and gas conference sponsored by GITA, Redress, or the Pacific Northwest Conference. Expect that you can be tapped on the shoulder also via an email or a phone call from Sally too. The third step is, the third R is revitalize. And what we need to do is really revitalize our corporate members and affiliates. In order for GITA to remain strong, you know, we need a firm foundation of those organizations. And corporate affiliates receive a number of memberships for their staff if they join. And they have the opportunity to display their logo and be linked from the GITA web portal to their corporate website. And it's important to know corporate memberships start as low as $500. So it's quite a deal if you have several people on your staff that want to join GITA. You would like that marketing and that outreach opportunity, we would appreciate to do that. So over the next few weeks, in conjunction with Pipeline Week that's going to be held down in Houston 2 weeks from now, we're going to be kicking off our outreach to corporate members. The last part of the revitalization is going to take place with regional chapters. The chapters, that is what really supports the growth of the GITA, and it provides a forum for like-minded geospatial professionals to get together, discuss, work on your local issues, you know, bring your local concerns to bear, and perhaps do some seminars, lunches, even form a conference. We, as a national organization, and our contractor takes care of everything for us, Shared Geo, we're here to assist you in that revitalization. So if anyone out there is interested in starting or reactivating a chapter, let me know. My email is on the next page, or you can contact me through the website. I have a lot of experience in this. We restarted the GITA Mid-Atlantic chapter a few years ago, and we kicked off a regional GIS conference called Redress, and we've had a lot of support and success doing that. So we want to spread that throughout the country. So just a last word here to sum it up. We need you. Please reach out to us. There's a membership. Sally Wakefield's our membership director. Real easily, you can reach her at membership@gita.org, or you can contact myself at melimbrunner@gita.org, or just go to the website and go ahead and connect with us. So I appreciate your time, Talbot. Thank you for letting me put a commercial in for the 3R program. We appreciate your help and your support.
Thank you for a good presentation, and hopefully we can get some folks here engaged in the organization as we continue to move forward. Without further ado, then, I'm pleased to introduce Toby Sanford and Scott Trapolino. I'm going to transfer control over to them here right now. Toby is the GIS manager for Golden Triangle Planning and Development District. He's been there for about 5 years before he got promoted to the GIS manager in 2008. He earned a bachelor's in geology with an emphasis in GIS from Mississippi State, and then his Master of Applied Science from Delta State. Toby hails from Ackerman, Mississippi. He currently lives in Starkville. Hail State, baby, #1. He has 12 years of experience as an educator, researcher, and developer in applications of remote sensing and GIS. And he's been working on a whole bunch of county and city GIS projects. And he's going to start the presentation, and then we're going to pass it over to Scott Trapolino, who is a GIS analyst for DeSoto County, Mississippi. Scott also is a graduate of Delta State. He has some interesting experience and expertise in that he is also a volunteer firefighter and emergency responder, currently active with the Eudora Volunteer Fire Department. And the area in which Toby works for Golden Triangle PDD, as some of you may be aware of from the news, got smoked with a major tornado last year, and that kind of united folks together, these two guys together, and got them to work together. And so we're going to talk about the benefits of collecting and using local geospatial data, and how that really came to be of tremendous value when the world quite literally came apart in one of these communities. So without further ado, some rules of the road, by the way. We will entertain questions at the end of the webinar. If you have a question, please send it to me using the chat window. I'll put it in the queue and make sure it gets posed to our speakers. And if you think of something after the fact, drop it to me in an email at president@gita.org, and I'll, again, get you in touch with Toby or Scott. Lastly, please do keep your phones on mute. It prevents really nasty feedback from occurring and overall improves our sound quality. Today's webinar is being recorded, and like all of our content, it is available to you for free. So please do join and be prepared to you can go to the website and pull all this content down. So Toby, take it away.
Thank you, Talbot, for that gracious introduction. All right, let's just dive right into this. I can get it to go here. The Golden Triangle Planning and Development District is covered. We cover 7 counties and 20 municipalities. Each planning and development district is an independent organization governed by a board of directors appointed by local leadership. Our executive director here at Golden Triangle is Rudy Johnson, and as you see here, we have a secretary, treasurer, vice president, and a president. There are 10 planning and development districts in Mississippi, and they were created to assist local governments to funnel federal dollars to the local level, and that's what created the PDDs initially. We are in the northeast part of Mississippi. As you can see here are 7 very colorful counties. This is my office, and that window right there, I'm actually sitting right behind it right now, talking to all of y'all. We are located in Starkville, Mississippi, and as Talbot said, Hell State. We are home of Mississippi State University. And now for the part y'all tuned in to listen to, what we do. So we go out into a county and we map all the structures in that county to their true locations, where they are. We currently use a sub-meter hemisphere GPS, and it just attaches to the outside of the car, and a Trimble Yuma with mapping software on it called Solo Field. And that is initially how we started. We go out in a car, we drive to a driveway, we map that house, we take a picture of it, and we record all the information that we can gather at that point, be it a single-wide trailer, a double-wide trailer, a brick house, the address that they have on their mailbox or posted on their house, and any other information that we can gather in that field mapping procedure. And if you can't, as you probably know, especially Scott being a firefighter, he knows that a lot of people don't post their address. So if you go out and we map it and we don't know the physical address, some of that stuff can be gathered later just by having digital parcel boundaries. You can take and overlay it. You can see who the owner is. Elected officials can help fill in some of those blanks, and the post office is good at filling in some of those blanks if the people get mail service, and some people just don't get mail at home. So it is a tedious task to try to fill in those last few blanks in mapping an entire county to every structure's true location. We have a new toy in our arsenal here. We recently bought an Ike GPS, and Scott will talk about it a little bit when he gets to it. It is what we use to go and map the destruction in Winston County. We haven't had it very long, but it is a great piece of equipment to have. It will take the GPS coordinates of the location that you are pointing it at, because it has a built-in rangefinder, and it will automatically take the picture and link those two together. So there isn't any error in what picture goes with what house, or depending on how you get those pictures linked to that mapped point. This is just a section of Oktibbeha County. It looks very, very busy, but it is what a zoomed in level of what it looks like when you have an entire county mapped. And this is only a small section. I think Oktibbeha has somewhere in the range of 20,000 mapped locations. So you're looking at a small section here of Highway 12 and Old Highway 12. We're going to zoom it down to a part of what we were looking at, and as you can see, these are all the map structures. They have the point, the number on it is the address that goes with each one of these houses. So you see the 827, well, that is the address to that house on Old Highway 12. The 923 is the address to that house. So we can take that and we map, this is the information that we have once everything is created. You have the digital picture, you know the address, 923 Old Highway 12, you know who lives there, the old address, and we will get into old addresses here in just a minute. We take everything an extra step. Not only do we map everything, but we re-address the county that we are mapping. It is a brick house. We know what justice court, what house, what senate, what supervisor, what congressional district this house is in. So in just a matter of seconds, you can go into the data and pull up every structure that falls in Supervisor District 4 or Justice Court 1 or Senate 15. And having that information helps other departments in a courthouse or other entities within the county. We know what postal zip code that house has, what postal route delivers to that house, and the coordinates, since all of this is built in a GIS environment, what voting precinct, what emergency service number. So that's all information that we gather and have and create. And not only that, you could add anything else that you want to add, including what parcel this house sits on. After we, or during the entire field procedure, we are also creating a good street network using the official county road register, making sure that all the roads have the correct name, they're in the correct location, anything that the county has adopted for that road is truly out there, and we have it mapped in our GIS. By Mississippi code, and I'm sure all other states have this as well, you are required, or the county is required to adopt a road register, and that's just the Bible. That tells you the road name, that tells you what it's supposed to be called, and making sure your digital data matches that is very important. This is just an example of a road register that you take. It's got the spellings, it's got the locations. There are some very in-depth road registers that you can get into that tell you the section that road is in and the length. Not only do we keep up with that in our data, but we keep up whether it's paved, gravel, state aid paved, state aid gravel. And then at the end of the day, the road manager or for the county, you can generate how many miles of gravel road he has, where that gravel road is located, the best way for him to maintain that information or to maintain that road. We make sure that each of these roads, like I already said, is in its correct location, because I'm sure you can go to Google Maps and look for a road, and number one, it might be misspelled, or number two, it's not in the correct location. It's not where it's supposed to be. So we correct that local level data here in each county. This is an example of one area north of Starkville. Those are the original centerline roads, or not centerline, the original digital roads that the county had. Well, you can see that is not truly where that road is, and you cannot calculate length off of that, because that's not really where that road goes or how long that road truly is. So we go in and we correct that part. We add ranges to it. We do all the necessary steps to create a good addressing database. And then once we're done, you have this city-county geodatabase. Some of the layers are created from the field mapping. Some exist and can be acquired from the USGS, from Maris, which is local here in Mississippi, and all can be utilized to put all of these pieces of the puzzle together that a county needs to create a good GIS data set. What do these things do for a community, you might ask? Well, they fix voter roll problems. Once you have all of this information in there, I know what supervisor district you're supposed to be in and where you're supposed to be voting. Well, there might be somebody for many years voting in the wrong place and never know it. This makes those kinds of errors stand out. I know where they're supposed to be voting, and it can fix that. It can fix addressing errors. Routing of city services such as trash, school bus, fire trucks, police cars. And maintenance on roads and city services become easier to keep up with. You know how many times you've had to patch up a road, how many times you've had to fix that bridge, things to make things point out so that the county knows that we've spent too much money trying to fix this particular road, we just need to repave it. This is Choctaw County's geodatabase that we created, and you can see the flood zones, which come from the government, the parcels, the contours, you have the boundaries, the city limits, ESNs, exchanges, fire districts, fire stations, and those GPS points like you saw earlier, those little dots laying out there that we add all that information to, and then many, many other layers, precincts, supervisor districts, anything that you would need that a county would need for that kind of information. Every one of these points, roads, everything we create has coordinates with it, latitude and longitude, and you can convert that into anything that anybody wants. Normally we use decimal degrees here, but USNG, UTM, degrees, minutes, seconds, it doesn't matter. Once you have it, you can change it to whatever you want it to be. And once you have it, it's invaluable. It does so much. Webster County, using the solid waste billing database and that physical addressing database that we create, the county can locate all residents that are not being billed by solid waste. In Webster County, we found 946 people. That doesn't mean that 946 people weren't paying their trash bill. That means 946 people that the county didn't even know were there. Well, that's $113,520 saved per year for the county that the county is not having to make up for. In a sense, tax dollars go in to fill those gaps because those people's trash is still being picked up. Well, it helps correct that and bring that back down to par. Choctaw County, we used that point addressing data to reroute the city county school district. We saved them $85,000 in a 180-day school year. And that was, at that time, a fuel savings of $3,000 alone. And in today's standard, that number would go up just by the amount of you're paying per gallon. And then you save wear and tear on your vehicles. You're not having to drive buses in certain places that you don't need to just because you know that it doesn't need to go that way, or two buses driving right by each other. It corrects those problems. What else can we route? We can route anything with wheels. It doesn't matter. You can do the road graders, police, trash, anything that you need to get from point A to B to C in the most logical route. This data was originally built for 911 response. So those pictures and all that information, when somebody dials 911, the dispatcher has that information. It shows up on her map. She knows where the call is coming from. She knows directions from the closest fire station, the closest ambulance, to get services where they need to be when seconds really count. And instead of seeing that ambulance drive down the road, you're seeing it pull in your driveway because it knows where you are. And like I said earlier, we do go a step further in these counties, and we readdress them off the 911 national standard of an address every 5.28 feet. Since there's 5,280 feet in a mile, that gives you 1,000 addresses per mile. If you have address 1,000, that means you're exactly 1 mile from the starting point of the road. Addresses get bigger as you drive east and as you drive north. So address 5,000 would be 5 miles from the starting point of the road, and so on. And then it works vice versa. If you see address 3,000 and you're looking for address 2,000, you know you're 1 mile from it. Once we get done with all of the tasks it takes to readdress, this is an example of the card that we send out to inform the resident that their address is changing. We mail it to the old address, informing them this is your new address. We send them a picture of their house on it so that they can see and be, yes, that is my house. Or if it isn't your house, you know there's an error there. So you call that number or you send an email and you tell us, that's my neighbor's house. And then we go in and you see, well, there was an error there, and that helps get error out of the system. Then we send them this information on the back that tells them what exactly is going on, how long they have, and then if they have any questions, to please call us. Once all that data is corrected and changed, we submit this information to the U.S. Census Bureau, and that updates the Tiger files. We send it to Maris in Mississippi so that when somebody goes to download data for our area, they are getting the most accurate local level data. And we update all the mapping companies so that when someone punches in their address on Google Maps, it actually plots on their driveway, not miles down the road, and you don't have to constantly hear somebody tell you that Google doesn't know where I live, or Google doesn't plot on my driveway, or my travel assistant in my car doesn't take people to my house. Well, this is an example of my addressing system. So you see this is just an address locator in our addressing software, and you punch in the address, 7478 New Light Road. It plots it right there. Well, that's where 7478 is, and we address off the driveway, so that's perfect. That 2191 you see there is the old address. It absolutely meant nothing. That 7478 means that that structure is 7.478 miles from the beginning of New Light Road. It's an even number, so you know it's on the right side of the road. If you look across the road over here, there's a 7485. Well, it's on the other side of the road, so it's going to be an odd number. In updating all of these mapping companies, Bing Maps was one of the first to update to our data, and that's most likely that they used Navtech data, and Navtech supplies maps to a lot of different businesses, but you can go to Bing Maps, punch in that address, and it also plots it on the driveway, not miles down the road. We update Esri, which is the Shapefile Guru. So you update Esri and you go to their map and also plots our addresses on the driveway. Google Maps is one of the hardest that we've found to try to get to update. The best way that I have found so far is to report a problem individually. Other than that, it's super hard to get them to believe me that I have the most accurate data. We are the Golden Triangle Planning and Development District, and that is our address and our phone number. Anytime you need, if you have any more questions other than after this, please feel free to call me here or email me or any way you can get a hold of me. And that, Scott, I think that goes into you, unless we have some questions for me or Talbot or.
Toby, we'll hold the questions to the end. Again, folks, the questions, drop them into the chat window. Now let's take a listen to Scott, who's going to serve as the master of disaster. So you should be able to just continue on with that slide. And Scott, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, take it away, brother.
Okay. Well, to kind of give you a little bit more background than what Talbot gave already, the state of Mississippi has been working to bring together the geospatial individuals that do the grassroots work in the communities and link them with emergency services, so we can have the breakdown of barriers of communication lines, because techie people don't always necessarily speak emergency management. So slowly but surely we've been working on that, and it just so happens 3 months into us working on stuff like that, we had an outbreak of tornadoes, and I was called at last minute, and I had no clue what the extent of the damage was. I was just asked by our emergency management agency to come in and kind of just be the GIS person and fit in wherever I could at the emergency management center. So to give you a little bit about this, I know Talbot talked about it a little earlier. It was an EF4 tornado that touched down right outside of Winston County, which is within Golden Triangle's area. It ran for approximately 35 miles with a maximum span of 3/4 of a mile. So this was a large tornado. It also had speeds ranging from 185 miles per hour, and we had roughly 650 plus damaged structures. Now, as a GIS person, as well as a captain on a fire department, an emergency management individual, I had no clue what kind of geospatial data I was going to be looking at when I arrived. So I grabbed everything that the state had, and I had never been to this area of the state. And I got in the car and arrived, and I was thinking, there's no way they have point addresses or even accurate street centerline data. So come to my, I guess when I showed up to come to my surprise, they actually had some of the best GIS data I've seen in the surrounding states, not much less Mississippi. So if you want to go ahead, this is the photo you're looking at now. Is we were using the handheld GIS unit, which has the accuracy, sub-meter accuracy at 900 feet, which is 300 meters. So we could collect GIS data very rapidly, and we used the FEMA standard for damage, and we just had a drop-down box built into the unit itself. And we had about a 20-second turnaround. So I have to say, I bought one of these GPS units after this incident for me, because the turnaround for data collection as well as photos was phenomenal. But go ahead and go to the next slide. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, whenever you're, just tell me next, and I'll get you going.
Okay, good. All right, so this is just some of the damaged pictures. I just kind of wanted to give you a conception of how bad the damage was. I have never been in an incident such as this before where there was this much devastation. There were 10 fatalities and unknown injuries, and they were very, very lucky simply because the tornado hit at 3:51 p.m. People were still at work. This tornado bulldozed through not only the only county hospital, but as well as, if you keep going one more slide, I believe you'll see it pretty much devastated an entire apartment complex. Which, I mean, it could have been way worse than what it was. I think this was, used to be a few trailers. This picture you're looking at here, we pulled up on the scene, and thank goodness Toby had the HUMA unit we had inside the car, and then I was standing in the back of the truck. Probably not the safest method of collecting data, but it worked very well considering we had to see over a lot of debris and trash. And I noticed that there was a roof behind this house off to the left. You can see Toby's pointing at it right there, and I said, oh man, look, there's got to be another structure back there. And he popped his head out the window of the truck and said, no, Scott, there's not another structure. He's like, that's the roof of the house right there. He said, there's only one point right here. I know there was only one house there. So it really did help. It was very valuable to have that point address information, not only the point address information prior to the incident, but the photos, the before photos. And that's something that I don't even have for my county. And we're like the second largest county in the state of Mississippi. So this is some of the industrial damage that occurred. If you noticed, I think they lost 3 industrial sites. I'm not for sure which this one was. Go ahead and go to the next one. This was part of the hospital. The hospital was completely shut down. I don't know if any of y'all have seen it before or ever worked a natural disaster, but to see the FEMA mobile hospital activated and put together, I stood in the parking lot and watched close to 30 tractor trailers pull up and then completely disassemble the tractor trailers and build a hospital out of these tractor trailers. It was probably one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen. Go ahead and go to the next one. Here's where the real value of having this point address data in a rural situation, I mean, just any situation, period. If you notice, you're looking at it, you've got the before and after shots that we took of every single structure. So before FEMA ever walked in the door, I I had Toby and myself. Toby actually assembled all this information and then gave it to me. FEMA walked in and they said, look, we want to know where all the structured, where all the damage was, what was the amount of damage to each house, and we would like, you know, do you have any of this information? And I dropped this, you know, what, 200-page or 150-page document on the table that looked just like this. It showed the before and after picture. It gave what type of structure it was before. It gave what supervisor district it is, the road name, how much damage was, and we also, Toby linked that to, Toby, you want to talk a little bit about what you did with linking that information to the tax assessor's database?
Sure. Since all of this stuff is spatially located, we had the digital parcels from the tax assessor, and you just overlaid them. We know exactly what parcel every one of these sat on. And they're still using this, trying to get their tax base corrected. Within a couple of days of mine and Scott's work, they knew just about how much tax dollars the county was going to lose, because taxes on a slab are much different than taxes on a 3-story home. And that's a valuable part of this. Before they assigned their budget for next year, they knew how much tax money they weren't going to have as they had the year before. And we knew what parcel it sat on, so everything just streamlined together.
Yeah, it also gave them a sense of how much damage. Now, in the state of Mississippi, as a given standard, it's about 15. The tax assessor appraises homes, depending on what county you're in, around 15 to 20% less than the market value. So they can take that information.
Scott, just pause for a second and maybe wipe your phone or move it away from your mouth and back. The audio quality just went terrible.
Okay. Is it any better now?
No, it's really, really digital.
How about now?
That's much better.
Okay, much better. All right. No, so about 15 to 20% less. So they could take that and maybe exaggerate it a little bit and give those numbers to FEMA and say, look, this is around about what damage figure we have, minus what it would cost to do the debris cleanup. Go ahead, Toby. The next one. This is just a few more slides. All right. Okay. Now, the first thing I did when I arrived on scene was I didn't know what kind of data I had, and thank goodness I had good data, because I was able to, people were setting up locations everywhere, and you can't really see on this slide, but this is all the critical facilities, from where the emergency command center was set up to where all of the medical facilities were. People were still coming in that were injured, as well as your pod places where you can go, your point of distribution places where people could go and get food or supplies or whatever they needed. We wanted to get this pushed out as soon as possible. Well, they came in with a list of addresses. I was able to geocode it in seconds. I just built a quick geolocator using the data that he already had, and I was able to process information faster than I ever thought I would be able to when I first arrived on scene. Go ahead, the next one, Toby. Here's the damaged structures, and this is something that I actually met with several FEMA representatives as well as FEMA representatives, Toby, myself, and his two employees that work with him at Golden Triangle took it upon ourselves to do the damage assessment, the initial damage assessment. So I don't think it's ever been done by GIS people or professionals as far as I know. Normally it's we were not professionally trained to do this, but we knew it was something that needed to be done, and it needed to be done right away. So I sat down with one of the incident management team members and just got a brief description of what we needed to look at for each structure and how to do the FEMA damage assessment for the initial assessment. And we went out within, what would you say, Toby, 3 hours of work and collected all 650 damaged structures.
Yeah, it was
processed and everything within 48 hours.
It was probably the fastest damage assessment that's ever been done.
Yeah, I mean, it really did blow their minds as far as what we were allowed to do, what we were able to do. And I mean, we worked tireless hours. We didn't stop.
So this just kind of gives them, when people would come in and want a map, I would give them that, and it'd show them where the damaged areas are. This is, this is showing where the damaged areas are. Everything that I built, though, I built it at a GeoPDF, so people could put it on their phone. They could use it and integrate it depending on what, I would tell them. I don't push a certain software, but there are free applications out there such as Avenza PDF and different applications like that you can view items on your phone as well as collect data. One thing that was asked of me, the first thing off the bat, is how much damage was actually within each supervisor's district, because they're the elected officials. They want to know who should be, who should have more, I guess, say-so in what goes on through this incident, because of, their area was more destruction was in their area or not. I was able to do really quick analysis for them using the point address data. One thing that I used that I thought was very interesting that, I hope it gets used again in other multiple incidents, we had close to 300 different volunteer groups come in within the 10 to 12 days I was there. And the first thing is, once an old group goes out and the new group goes in, I couldn't keep processing and printing maps. So what we did was I met with the information officer, and we built these QR codes to be attached with every map. Now, if you're looking at the map to the right, it doesn't look like you can see very much or anything, but actually when you pull it into your phone or a digital application, you can zoom in, and almost every street's labeled, minus the cities. I did multiple maps for the cities as well as the county. But this allowed not only first responders, but like police officers for looters. They were able to go and drive around within the area of the damaged path instead of just driving around wondering where the damage was. Kind of helped them get acclimated. Go ahead to the next one. Is there another slide? There we go. All right, so this is, just to give you a little bit, this is actually the path of the tornado itself. It was, this is what the National Weather Service gave me when I first arrived. I went ahead and threw together a United States National Grid map. I didn't know if there was going to be any more search or rescue operations, and I laid that in there, and I realized that after driving around that first day, I was like, man, this is not right. So I called all of my resources, which my resource was Talbot Brooks at the time, and he was working with Digital Globe and got some Digital Globe Next View imagery. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And what that imagery allowed me to do is, looking at this slide right here, you see how wide the tornado was before, and then it really came down. And really, after I got done, it was half a mile to 3/4 of a mile instead of, the National Weather Service swath was about 2.5, 3 miles wide. Go ahead and go to the next one. This allowed us, we did this before we went out and actually collected the damage, so we knew where we had to go. You can see the before and after imagery here of the devastation, and I didn't have any imagery processing data or software with me, so what I did was I just heads-up digitized it. It was the quickest thing to do, and then we went what Toby, a half a mile out from that area that I heads-up digitized to check and make sure there weren't any damaged structures as we did our damage assessment.
That's right. We went pretty far on each side of it on every road, and to where we did not see destruction.
Okay, go ahead. Next one. The next slide should just show you how I actually went in and drew it in. There you go. We just went in and it was just quick and fast. We needed it as fast as we could. Go ahead with the next slide. It's taking a minute. One thing I got to do while I was there, I had some downtime, and come to find out they only had 9 sirens within it. So I said, you know what? Let me do some analysis for you, so you can maybe do some mitigation planning, because they didn't have they had never done this before. I said, okay, so here's all your sirens. I put a buffer around them. I threw the digital elevation model, as well as, you can't really see, but I put a black point for every single house structure. And what it did was it just allowed the emergency management individuals to look here and say, well, we've got a cluster of people up here in the north that have no siren, have no warning, as well as, here right south of town. And then also I mapped the fatalities. I don't have this map on here, but I mapped the fatalities as well, and I also mapped all of through the National Weather Service, all the tornadoes that had run through the county 50 years prior. So it just kind of gave them something to do some kind of analysis with that they hadn't had before.
That was it, Scott.
All right, cool. I didn't know exactly how many slides I had sent you. But other than that, one thing that I thought was really interesting was the fire marshals walked in and came and asked to close it out. They asked me, they said, you know, I need to know exactly how many trailers you have and where they're located and maybe where they are now. And I processed that data and gave them the digital map within 5 seconds. And they had worked several other natural disasters before that, because now it's a state law in the state of Mississippi that all trailers have to be anchored a certain depth, and they wanted to go check all those anchors to see if they were established, if they were there, if they weren't there, and if there were any fatalities because of it. And I was able to process that information to them, and I have never seen people so grateful in all my life to be able to get that. I would have never been able to process that data without the point address information that Toby and his guys have put together prior to the incident. So, Toby, I'm going to throw it back to you if you have anything additional to add to it.
No, that fine job, Scott.
So, gentlemen, we thank you for your presentation. If anybody out there has some questions, please do drop them into the chat window. Scott, I've got a quick one for you. What did you end up doing with the QR codes once they were put on the maps? Is that how products were requested from that point forward? Somebody could just scan that code and then give it to you, or just how did that work?
We, depending on the size of the map, we did several different maps like that, and what happened was we'd have new volunteers come in daily, and we posted at all of the point of distribution sites as well as all the medical facility sites. We would post these maps on the wall, and the great thing is FEMA now is using a lot of younger individuals. I would say college-age students to come in and during events like this. And, well, young people are very tech-savvy. They're ready to go. So if I could tell them, hey, I'll give you this paper map versus, hey, I'll give you this QR code, you can have a digital map on your smartphone and use it out in the field, they wanted the digital map. So it was, I don't know how many hits we got. I'd kind of be interested to find out. But any map that I produced got a QR code and got pushed out to one of those sites to be downloaded.
Okay. And, Toby, y'all use the IKE. It's the name of the GPS unit that you use to collect the damage assessment data?
That is right. It's IKE, I-K-E.
And who's the manufacturer?
I think GE.
GE map site now is.
Okay. Okay.
But if you can go to Google or anywhere and just search IKE GPS, and it is the only one of its kind.
Okay. And, Toby, we're interested to know, post-event now, what has happened to GIS in the TRP, in the Golden Triangle area of interest? Have folks learned from this and really embraced it and see the value in getting these type of data, or is it just kind of, well, that was useful and business as usual?
No, sir. They especially Winston County. Golden Triangle has had a GIS department here for probably going on 15 years. And Dr. David Bandy started this department before I took it over. But trying to get people to understand this took a long time. And Winston County is our sixth county to actually map in this way. We have done 6. Lowndes County is the only county not to have this. And I think it might have opened their eyes up a little bit to see how valuable, once you need it and you don't have it, it's too late. But yes, to answer your question, it has people constantly requesting things for GIS.
And then just lastly, do you have any sense of the return on investment? How much did it cost Winston County to develop the data versus how much they've saved both directly in things like being able to assess trash pickup, or indirectly in terms of like the planning for lost tax revenue or turn around those damage assessment claims. Do you have a methodology? Have you begun looking at it from that perspective?
For Winston, not so much, because they just now have it. In fact, right before the tornado happened, we had just got done mapping their county. So they are in the beginning steps of all this. We have not mapped all of their, or remapped for trash truck routing or anything to that effect for them. But in Choctaw County, it has since paid for itself time and time again for just the amount of money they have in savings. We did the trash truck routing for Choctaw, their school bus routing. Just the amount of time it saves them to do things such as redistricting or those kind of things. It's hard to say how much they have saved, but it's much, much more than what they actually paid to create the system.
Well, let me be the first to invite that as a study or a paper that we'll host here on the GITA website and put out in the News Hub if it's something you'd endeavor to do. Absent any other questions, we'll wind this down because we're running up on the hour. Again, I want to thank our presenters, Toby and Scott. They did an excellent job. Please don't hesitate to follow up with them or with me, and I'll pass questions along to them after the fact here. This webinar, again, was recorded. We'll have it posted in the GITA's website knowledge repository, Knowledge Center, Learning Center, in the next few days. And if you're not a member, please do consider joining, because it's membership dues that help make presentations like this possible. And there's a lot of other benefits to being a member, things that we're doing like helping you keep professional records of development activities, learning activities like this, so you can hand off a report card, so to speak, to GISCI if you're searching for your GISP. So again, thanks a lot. And our next webinar, we're working on the scheduling details right now, but Mr. Jack Hild from Digital Globe has agreed to do a presentation next month, and we'll be talking about current and future paradigms for satellite imaging. So that's all for now. Thank you again, and we'll be back next month.
Thank you.